7 p.m. and it's Tuesday night. I got my laptop on and I feel alright. I got a few joints rolled and my munchies made. Got my headphones on and I close the door, don't disturb me. It's time to stand up tall and say some things about the shitty world we're living in with the boys at Raconteurs News. To Raconteurs, Raconteurs, to Raconteurs, Raconteurs, to Raconteurs News, Raconteurs News, Raconteurs News, Raconteurs News, Raconteurs News. Oh yeah.
My name is Stephen Hawking, and I used to listen to Raconteurs News.
And good evening, welcome to Raconteurs News this Tuesday night. It's the 27th of March 2018. We did it first time, 2018 instead of 2018. And I really hope, and this is not an idle hope. This is that I hope that you've had an awesome day. I'm going to tell you about my day right from the very beginning. I'm going to, well, not from the very beginning of the day, but from the start of the show. I'm going to tell you about a couple of things that have happened to me today. And now we were due to have. Paul Joseph Watson Jr. on, but unfortunately we've not been able to locate him, so it's not going to be a guest tonight. But we are going to be having a bit of a roundtable discussion. We've got the usual suspects, all the raconteurs are with us tonight. But first of all, how's your day been? I feel I can tell you, I feel like we're close enough now that I can tell you things. There were a lot of people commenting last night how I seem to be leaning to the right, and the reason for that is I've got a huge boil on my arse that suddenly appeared. It's like a head growing out of my left cheek. So I've been leaning to the side so much that I think probably by the time I've got rid of it or had it lanced, then it will. It will have taken over my body and probably got its own personality. But anyway, I've got this big boil, and by the time I've got rid of it, I'll probably find myself with a permanent camber to one side as I'm trying to relieve the pain on my left cheek, and my right buttock is heroically taking the extra weight and not sprouting boils like the left one decided it were going to do. Another little thing that happened to me today, I was driving back from North Wales. I got to Glossop. I don't know if anybody knows Glossop, but I'm in my van outside, in Glossop. And if you know Glossop, there's a Tesco's garage right outside a big Tesco superstore. And on the main road there, I was just pulled up at the lights, and then smack, I got rear-ended. And when I say rear-ended, I don't mean that in the way that means that I'm going to be inundated with marriage proposals from Super Leeds. I'm just saying it was in my vehicle. Somebody ran into the back of my car, and it's been quite an interesting day. So we've got boils and we've got rear-ending as well. So it all sort of ties in together, doesn't it? Anyway, for tonight, we've got the usual raconteurs with us. We've got Paul Webster. How you doing, Paul? How you doing, mate? A good day?
Yes, thankfully. Just rushed in, put the computer straight on. Still having trouble with the monitor booting up, but I'm here.
And, of course, Aid Hardy, my old mucker, the guy I've known for a number of years, many, many years, the guy I'm responsible for waking up. I feel like his truth father. But in fact, one day I might say, Aid, I am your father. But it's not going to happen anytime soon. Adi, how you doing, mate? Have you had a good day?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. My bills of exchange are all ready for tonight, mate.
Excellent. Well, it's a shame about our guest. We've not heard from him, have we? I mean, it's not. it's not unlike him to not attend when we've got some. But we're not going to go down that road. We'll endeavour to get him on at some point. I know that he wasn't really a very popular guest with some of the people in the chat room, so we'll see if we can get him. We'll get him. It'll be very interesting to have a chat with Dan. We're waiting for Andy. Andy's been called down to Peterborough. He's on his way back. He did say that he'd probably be back at around about the time that we go to air. So he's going to join us at some point. I've added him to the call, the Skype call. And listen, if there's anybody out there who wants to call in, because we've got us four raconteurs tonight. And we're just talking our own stuff. If there's anything you want to bring up, if you want to call in on Skype, just send me a message either in the chat room or on Facebook Live, or just send me a message and I'll send you the link. The link, if you want to add me on Skype, is jason.holmes97. So that's jason.holmes97. So if you want to join me, if you want to come on and have a chat with me, Paul, and AD, and Andy when he gets here, then by all means, please do. That's jason.holmes97. You all can also keep in contact with us on Twitter. I'm at Beckham Coverup, and Raconteurs News is at Raconteurs News. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So, guys, what have you discovered today? What have you learnt today, or what have you discovered that's wrong about today? Let's start with you, Ada.
Something I saw earlier today. I think it was kind of a thing they put on between some TV program when I was in a customer's house. And it said, did you know that we reckon that 1 in 100 people are autistic? And it was basically advertising for you to do a test to see if you're autistic. Because they're now trying to get the numbers up, or that's certainly how it came across.
Yeah, but I mean, 1 in 100 is a little bit low. I think a bit high, that percentage. You know, that number. What do you think? I think it's probably more like 1 in 50 at the moment, isn't it? That either got autism or some sort of they're on the autism spectrum. I don't know what that means. I mean, I had a spectrum when I was a kid, and buttons. You know, you're pressing buttons to play games and stuff like that. But apart from that, that's the only spectrum I'm aware of, the autism spectrum. What do you think, Webby? Have we got people with more and more? And what do you think the causes of that is? Because there must be some. We always put the figures up, but nobody ever discusses what's causing this autism.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who just put it down to the fact that the detection of this is better, is a lot better than it used to be years ago. But it seems to have jumped from something like in the 80s in 1 in 30,000, 80 thousand to 1 in 88, and that was a few years ago that I saw that statistic. Does it link in with vaccines? Some people can show that. There's quite clearly that some people have had a vaccination and then all of a sudden suddenly change from being bright and happy and normal type thing to lethargic, not being banging their heads in walls and stuff. And some people say, no, that's nothing down to vaccines. But because you can't have an open and clear debate on it, then again, you start to get shut down. People swear by vaccines, but it's as if God just went, oh, do you know what? I didn't make that immune system. Make that immune system.
Oh,
just
thank God for
right.
humans.
Is there any chance you can develop a vaccine for it?
Thank you for humans for developing these vaccines, because I had no idea. There was no way that I could fucking protect you from anything at all, or help you protect yourself, or design you to protect yourself. It puts people into quite a position though, because when you get the critical mass, as far as I'm concerned, the autism part of the vaccines, and I think that's probably. It's probably just giving a name to something that's... It seems like they're trying to have a whole army of autistic people that they can then say, "Oh, right, I'll tell you what, we'll give you a job. We won't pay you as much because you're not worth as much, but we'll give you a little job and you'll do this and you'll do that." To me, it seems like it's the build-up of a workforce that don't have... Well, they have the capacity, but it's been restricted by what's been put in the body to be able to see that they're being used and abused. But again, I suppose that goes for every organisation. You know, Antifa, all these silly organisations they have. Antifa, hope not hate, or whatever it is. I prefer to hate. Forget it. Forget hope. You know, and like I said before, you could get all these. You could blanket all these organisations and get rid of the lot of them and just have one called "Don't be a cunt to each other," and then you know, if nobody's been a cunt, we've got no problems. That's the problem with society. It's not these issues, you know, because when they bring up kick racism out of football, they're never going to kick racism out of football. They might as well just say fucking ignore racists, they're a right bunch of fucking lunatics, and then they'll disappear because collectively people will go, well, yeah, I don't want to hear that. It's just bullshit. I've heard that. We're not back in 70s, and people will, like you said, like they do, they police themselves. You're always going to get idiots, but people chucking money at it's not going to do anything, is it?
No, I think. Go on, Eddie. Were you going to say something then, lad?
It was just that the thing I saw today with the autism was almost like.
All right, you're going all. You've gone all Dalek.
The only way I can describe it is, it was almost like a recruiting video. Just like you were watching a recruiting video for the army. You know, it was like, oh, we suspect 1 in 100, come and get your test, because then you can be part of this club. And it just really struck me as quite weird.
Well, they do say that. I mean, I think every single man and woman, from being children, everybody will register on the autism scale at some point. It's a very quite wide-ranging spectrum of autism, and everybody's got some kind of autism to some extent. But the autism that I think we're talking about is, you know, the most severe stuff. I mean, I don't know about joining clubs, but I've read an article this week where the family won, I think it's £52,000 from the Scouts because this lad was basically singled out for special one-to-one because he couldn't go on. They wouldn't take him on. They started to not take him on camping trips and things like that. So it's discrimination. That's what they've won the payout for. But this kid actually loves doing the Scouts, but he gets frustrated, and I don't know if you're then talking about specialist needs teachers to be able to go and help the Scouts or whatever, because I do know a guy who used to be a Scout leader many years ago now, and as the Scouts got less and less, because even though in our era anyway, the Scouts have got less and less and less, or the interest in the Scouts have got less and less, and they ended up shutting that particular Scouts place because, you know, the kids in the area just aren't interested, because it's not something that kids do these days. You know, we were talking, I think it was last week or the week before, about summer holidays, whereas kids, you'd be out and, you know, you'd be waiting for the street lights to come on because there's no phones to get in touch, your mum to get in touch with you or anything. And I think with, like I said, it's how do you want to look at this for autism? People are pointing at vaccines. People are pointing at things in water supplies and foods and all these numbers and stuff like that. There's got to be some kind of a link that's happening with this, because it just seems so much of a coincidence that it's flared up all of a sudden within the last 25, 30 years. And when you try and raise that debate again, you're shut by these people. You know, you're an idiot. That's a load of bullshit. Why would they do that? All that kind of caper. So I think an open and fair debate and transparency is what we need on many things. This is just one subject.
Now, Warren Bell's made quite a good point on Facebook Live that some of the brightest people and the best people and the most intelligent are autistic. Now, for me, that suggests that you're sort of weeding them out and putting them into a place where they've got no social skills, or they might not have any social skills, or many social skills. And so that weeds out a lot of the intelligent ones, if you can give them autism, because then, I'm not saying that doctors are making kids autistic on purpose. What I'm saying is that I know it's money, the vaccines and everything, but there has to be another agenda as well, because the money, I mean, it's fucking bits of paper, and once we take this world back, it'll be worth fuck all, because nobody will have anything. Hey, anyway, listen, Andy's joined us. How you doing, Andy? All right, mate? Yeah, you need to turn your mic on, mate.
I just muted it because I was chatting about getting ready when I just Skyped in. But yeah, sorry I missed the start of the show, guys. Did I miss anything exciting?
You missed the boil on my arse.
Only Jason's boil on his arse.
And how Jason got rear-ended this afternoon.
Oh, matron!
But I'm not inviting marriage proposals from anybody. So Super Leeds, just pop that into your brain and keep it there. I certainly won't be marrying you. Right, we've got Dinny in the chat room as well. Good evening, Dinny. How you doing, mate? John Hull's in there. Crappy Leeds. I'm sure Heath's in there somewhere. There's plenty of people in the chat room. If you want to get us in the chat room, just go to raconteursnews.com. You can get yourself a name, register, and then you can have the same name every single time. I'm Jesus in there. So if you're wondering who Jesus is, that's me. And it's an in joke that I call myself Jesus. So don't think that I'm sort of claiming any divinity of any kind. So while everybody's wetting themselves over Australia cheating at cricket, what the fuck is really going on? I mean, there's been some right crap going on, hasn't there? I made a post earlier on, and it came to me. And I thought to myself, when you argue, when you get somebody who's in the Remain camp, you argue, and you sort of get into, not an argument, but like a little discussion. It's like talking to a kid who's pissed off that fucking Jim Will Fix It's been cancelled. It is. It's Stockholm Syndrome. And it's all over the place. Where do you think this is going? I mean, me personally, I've just fucking lost interest in it completely, because we're not going to get a Brexit. That's what we voted for. We're not going to get it. We're supposed to be. Let's just get out, but we're not going to do that, are we? Because we've got, we've got a government that's been propped up by a minority party from Northern Ireland. And it's, let's face it, we've got in the Labour Party, you've got this momentum group that have suddenly appeared. I think they're all Blairites, and Tony Blair, I mean, God, what a piece of shit he is. We know what he is. But this momentum group, these are all these people, these cultural Marxists that we were talking about, that have infiltrated, that had taken over the Labour Party. But when Jeremy Corbyn came along, it sort of, they had to become a minority group within their own party, and they're working against their own leader. That's what I can't understand. Why would they be working against their own... Well, I can understand it, because they're all a bunch of cunts, and they all want the same thing, and they realise that if we're out of Europe, then the gravy train for them is probably over. So I think I've said enough on that. Well, what about Ada? Get in. Go on, Ada.
I mean, all I hear is them talking about anti-Semites, this, and, and I just think it's just all a distraction. That's all it is. It's just a distraction.
Well, I was listening to that fucking retard Ian Collins last night. My God, I can't believe the shit that guy spouts. They actually had Jewish people ringing in. In fact, one of the Labour members is Jewish. I know what anti-Semitism is because I am Jewish. And Collins cut him off and said, No, no, you obviously don't. You obviously don't because Corbyn's come out and apologised. Now, I don't know what he's actually apologising about. You know, the stuff that is being said. I mean, he's even saying, well, it's all right to criticise Israel, but you can't criticise Jews. Am I getting lost in something here? You know, I know not all Zionists are Jews, and you certainly don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist. But when people are starting to throw anti-Semitic slurs at people, that particularly people who in the spotlight, you know, they just seem to throw all this stuff out. It's like throwing racism out. As soon as you start calling people names, again, what Adi was saying, it makes me suspicious. Why? Why are we being distracted for something? It's somebody who can do something. I personally can't see how anybody within that political system would be allowed to get into a place of power at number 10 and change anything, never mind everything, but change anything for on behalf of the people. Oh, it's a dilemma. I mean, I don't fucking know Jeremy Corbyn. I don't know these people, but they certainly don't seem to have my best interests at heart, any of them. And it's all right saying the nicey things, you know, oh, look at that bastard, look at what this company is doing. I won't do that. Well, that's what we always get. I don't like this. No, I don't like that. You know, it goes to and fro, but they agree on so much. And trying to vote somebody into power is like, it's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different outcome. How many times have we had nothing's changed and the agenda has gone forward?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, we had 1 million people march on against the Iraq War in 2003, 2004, whenever it was, and still it happened. Everything, it's like whatever they really want to happen, all this other stuff, all this crap, all this Trump, right, for a start, Donald Trump, for God's sake, right, it's a soap opera. So Australia have now decided that they've seen enough evidence that this poisoning was done by Putin. It was ordered by Putin. They've decided, Australia, so they've expelled diplomats and all these people all over the world expelling these. Do they think Putin gives a flying fuck what they do? All he's got to do is cut the gas supply off to Europe, and that's it. We're all fucked. So, you know, they want to talk about a trade war between America and China, and it's all this silly crap that's just a fucking load of nonsense. A trade war. Why does that matter to you and me? A trade war. As long as I can go to a shop and buy something, then a trade war doesn't mean anything to me. When I can't go to the shop and buy something, then that's when trade war matters to me. Or whatever fucking shit they're calling it these days. So it's just the whole thing. It seems since Brexit and Trump, and this is what I think. Right, I think that they thought, right, we'll give them Brexit, right, because it's going to cause fucking chaos, and they gave it, and we know that we can fucking take it back at any point, that at any point we can just go, oh, well, we need a second referendum. We can muster up enough support and enough shit on Twitter so that the only thing that you ever see is people who want to remain calling for a second referendum. And you think that momentum's building up, and that it's going to do something. But the second if they said they were going to have a second referendum, it'd probably be in 2 years' time. So it's just something where we're all distracted. We're not seeing. Well, we are seeing, but it's not being reported widely. That you know, we've had a million kids had their free school dinners fucking took off them. Yet them cunts in fucking at Westminster. I'm sorry, I keep saying cunt tonight. I just think I might be a bit wound up. I've had a bit of a day, and this boil on my arse is really pissing me off. But
I tell you what, Jace, while you're mid-rant, if I could make a recommendation, it might be worth just carry on with your rant, just drop this call and restart it, because everybody's at the minute, mate.
Okay, mate. All right. Well, okay. Well, I'm going to play a record then. While we drop, let me just find a record. Jesus Christ, I've never been under such pressure. I'm going to play a record,
Sing something you know.
and then I'm
Just
going to.
talk, you gobshite. You don't need a record.
No, but I need to end this call and start it again. I'm going to play a record while I do it, so that we can then do a test, can't we? Okay,
Right,
is that all right?
yeah.
Is that all right with you, Mr. Producer, not producing tonight? Because his car's too slow. All right, I'm going to play a record. Listen, as soon as we've got it all sorted, we'll be back. We'll not be playing the entire record, I hope, anyway. All right, that's Scatman John with Scatman. That's from 1995. We've reconnected with the call. Hopefully, this time we'll be able to get a clear connection. Everybody seems. I was only getting a little bit, but we're getting a little bit of Dalek stuff. So yes, well interrupted, Andy. And you seem to have changed. You're in the top corner now. You were in the bottom corner, the other corner. This one. Before.
Oh, right. Well, it's all about who joins the call where, I think, isn't it?
I don't know. Anyway, where were
God
we?
knows.
Let's. I
You
know.
was in mid-rant.
I know.
It's a bit like being on Celebrity Squares. You never know which square you're going to end up in, do you?
God, you're showing your age.
We need some buzzers then. We need some buzzers.
Yeah.
Jason said he's going to get a buzzer, funny enough.
Yeah, going back to it, I'm just reading RT of Russia Today have gone live that people have gathered to commemorate a mall fire. You know, the fire that's happened. I wonder, are the Russians going to start blaming other people? Because Jason was spot on with that. There's I think it's over 100 Russian diplomats been expelled from countries all around the world. You know, different numbers from different countries. And it seems to me like all the countries that are going against them are all the Rothschild central banking system countries. I've no idea what that could possibly mean. You know, your own conclusions to that. But there's definitely an agenda, and people who don't want to look at the bigger picture can always poke holes in things that people talk about. But at the end of the day, the fucking tennis, that's how much I'm interested in fucking cricket. This cricket ball bollocks, you know. It just baffles me. Go on, Ada.
I just want to pick up on something that Jason said. You know, he said I can't remember how many million people had a march against the Iraq war. Well, as I've said before, you know, when people go and protest, especially outside government buildings, they're not worried that we're protesting. All they're thinking is, look, they're asking us for something.
It's a legality. It's a legal term, protest. They'll allow you to protest, but it doesn't get you anywhere.
But what I'm saying is, the politicians, they don't hear that somebody doesn't like something they're doing. All they hear is, oh, look, they're asking us to do something or not do something. In other words, they're recognising our power.
Yeah.
You know, and as it says on my wall, just over wherever it is there, you know, if you want to achieve greatness, stop asking for permission. Let's stop asking these bastards and just fucking ignore them. What are they going to do if nobody votes?
Well, there
You
you
know,
go. There you go. But like I
hit-
said, voting doesn't do anything, Ada. It's the same thing. It's repeating the same thing. The definition of insanity. It's madness to me. Things have got to change tack, and you've got to be armed with knowledge. There's no point just going, "Oh, I don't want to do this," and not doing anything. Let's do something, but we've got to be recognised.
For how many years have we had this three-party system? Because I know, there are parties that, the minority parties, but for how many years have we had Labour, Conservative, and whatever the other ones are called this for this decade? How long have we had it? Because it hasn't fucking worked so far.
I would say we've had it equally as long, maybe a bit longer, than Punch and Judy shows have been at the seaside. And
is there any difference, Andy?
It's exactly the same fucking show,
There's
isn't
no
it?
difference. There's no difference.
The crocodile's got the sausages. Ah! What a load of bollocks.
It's duality. They've got to show you something that some people will enjoy, some people will believe it, some people will get something from it. The Conservatives, inevitably throughout the time I've ever known conservatism anyway, they've always looked after the rich. There's no two ways about it. I don't care about some people who can be conservative who don't agree with that. Yes, they can be, but when they join that party, they follow party policy. And the policies within these parties are not for the people. None of them are for the people. Giving us a bus route, planting some trees and putting some ham sandwiches on and saying, hey, look, we've cleaned up. Look at them potholes. I was going to say, look at the potholes we've been fixed, but fucking potholes aren't even getting fixed. And it's the same policies.
I've seen that bloke on Facebook doing them with Cocoa Pops and milk. That was funny as fuck. I tell you what, I think one of the best descriptions that it really made me howl when I first heard it was Tom Barnes, Enemy Within, his description of democracy. Yeah, you got a choice. Do you want a punch in the face or a kick in the bollocks? It's simple as that.
Or a knitting needle down the Jap side.
Gang rape. It's the same as gang rape because it's the majority imposing their wishes on the minority. Or that's what we're led to believe. It isn't, but that's what we're led to believe. And it's exactly the same as gang rape.
Jason, have you put out your Skype details to see if anybody wants to call in?
Yeah,
yes,
if you want to call in on Skype, I'm jason.holmes97, jason.holmes97 on Skype. Just send me a brief message. Let me know you're going to come on, and we'll get any callers who want to come on. And they can make their points if you've got any points. Because I'm sure. Listen, I just wanted to make this point. This just occurred to me, and I want before it falls out of me fucking head. I need to address it, right? And I want to address it. It's the tree situation here in Sheffield. Now, the psychology behind that is we know why they need the trees removing. They need the trees removing because they interfere with the 5G, and they probably, if you've got a big, massive tree in front of your house, when they send that signal through the 5G to make you lethargic or whatever, it don't get through, and after it gets soaked up by the tree and ingested by the tree. So what they're doing is they're cutting the trees down, but also it serves another purpose because the people that are protesting. Now, back in the day... Oh, hang on, we've got a Skype call. Oh. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hello, caller. Oh, hang on a minute.
Super Leeds.
I need to put you into this call. Right, I've got your details. I'll put you into this call. All right, because it's not added you to the call. So,
all right, mate.
All right, 2 minutes. All right, okay. Call on hold. Are you there, guys? Oh, no.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, mate. Yep. So I need to... Mate, can you just hang up a second? And I've got your details. I'll call you back and add you into this call that we're on with the guys. All right?
What? So close this, yeah? Yeah.
Yeah, close it down. Just hang it up. I've got the details, and what I'll do is I'll get back onto and I'll add you to the call with all the guys, because what it's done is Skype and its infinite wisdom has just taken me and you and put us together, and so it's put the other call on hold.
Mate. All right, mate.
All right, just hang up, and then I'll give you a call back.
Yep.
Okay. Oh dear, this is live radio, people. Oh, there we go. There we go. Are you there? No. I'm going to add you in, guy. I'm just going to work on this. Just a second. There we go. That'll be 2 seconds. There we go. Ended that call. Anyway, people, you're listening to Raconteurs News. I'm having a bit of a problem with Skype here. It's not letting me get these guys back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang up and I'm going to ring them all back individually. Okay, so there we go. I've hung up on them, and I'm going to ring them back.
Hello. Here we go. He's back in, I think.
There we go. Sorry about that, guys. Listen, we had a caller in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back and find his details. So if you guys want to just carry on talking, just talk about some crap while I just see if I can technically sort this out, and then we can get the caller on. All right. So
yeah, we'll just keep talking till you cut us off again, Jace. That'll be all right.
All right, but listen, you must remind me about the trees point, because this is a really, really important point, and it all goes into psychology and all that. So a bit later on, you need to make me bring that up again, because if I forget it, then you're all dead. Right?
Yeah,
so,
come on, get that caller back in.
Go on then, Andy. You keep the conversation going while I do the technical stuff.
Yeah, I'd got something I was storing away and was going to have a little bit of a rant about, but it's gone clean out of my head with all the comedy capers were getting us cut off there. So, Paul, you got anything to add to this at the minute?
If we're going to talk about the 5G stuff again, I mean, I forgot to bring up a point last night about some of this technology. I mean, in the job that I work in, I work with a lot of mentally ill people, and that, you know, some hear voices, some are schizophrenic, all that kind of stuff. And I always remember, I think it must have been about 2011, so maybe even longer, but it's within the last 10 years that I remember when they were talking about all this new network, and obviously we had the 3G, now we're on 4G, and we're going up to the 5. But some of this technology, Andy, I remember them pioneering it in like the Virgin megastores. I don't know if you remember, where you would walk into the shop, you'd walk into the store, and as you walked in, there'd be no music playing. But you get to a certain part of the store, and then you would hear music. But if you took a step back, the music would stop, because the music was actually being beamed straight into your head. It wasn't external. You was hearing it internally. Now, if they can do that with music, what is it possibly that they could do with somebody talking to you? You know what I mean? If people are already hearing voices, it's quite clear that you could actually hear something. If you can hear music, you can hear somebody talking to you. That could fuck with a lot of people. And if you're talking about a grid of that,
oh yeah, well,
this is dangerous. This is dangerous stuff, and people don't think of it like this because they always see what they promote it as. You know, good stuff. It's like microchips. You don't need to carry cash. You're never gonna get robbed. All that kind of stuff.
Guys, can I just
ridiculous.
Can I just? I'm trying to add our caller in. But if you can, if Stu, if you're listening, if you can accept my contact request on Skype, then I'll be able to add you in, because I've just sent you a contact request. So, if you accept that, I'll be able to add you in.
Yeah, when we were talking to Barry Trower a while back, he was telling us how
somebody needs to mute the mic, Andy. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I think Jason's perhaps fiddling with something. Barry Trower was telling us how a lot of people think this voice-to-skull technology is complete fantasy, but he said it's been available for decades.
Of course.
They've been using. But when you mentioned, I don't know if you remember the mega stores, I can proudly say I have never, ever set foot in a Virgin store. I think his pickle tastes like shite, and I think he's a complete twat, so I don't use...
Actually, it wasn't Virgin. What was the other mega stores that they had where they sold music?
HMV.
Before Virgin took over, HMV. It was an HMV store. That's what it was. And you walked into a certain part of the store, and it was like there was like 4 posts. So it was an area that people would say, "Well, just step into this," and there was like an X on the floor or something like that. And as you walked into that, you would hear the music, and then as you walked through, the music would stop. So it was actually just being beamed straight in to your skull. You weren't hearing it. Now, like I said, that's they can start fucking with a lot of people, and look at the medication that people are on.
I've just seen who the caller is. I'm waiting for the voice.
Hello,
Hiya, Steve.
Stu.
Stu.
Sorry, Stu. Welcome to Raconteurs News. What have you got to? What would you like to talk about this evening?
I wouldn't like to talk about his bollocks, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, that we do talk about that quite a lot. So yeah,
Not Jason's bollocks.
It's superludes. Yes, Jason's bollocks. Yes. All right, fella. How are you doing?
We're all doing champion, mate. How's you?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. I've not used Skype before, so yeah, I'm a Skype virgin.
Oh, well, Jason loves taking people's cherry on Skype. So.
Well, I should imagine he does.
Come on, then, Stu, entertain us. You need to entertain us and our audience as well, the rest of them.
How many pints do I owe you now, then?
Well, not very many.
A couple, no?
Well, yeah, 1 or 2, yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you want to talk about?
Not bills of exchange.
Well, you'd have to have a modicum of intelligence, wouldn't you, Super Leads?
Well, I've got Asperger's, yeah. So.
Well, you should understand it. I know 4 people who have got Asperger's who are studying this stuff now, and they know it by heart. They're actually showing me stuff, so it's easy for everybody to learn in one way or another. It's the concept. You may not get the technical terms, but the concept of it is everybody can understand this. So don't worry about stuff like that, pal.
So how's Liverpool doing?
Well, we're on a break at the minute. England are playing tonight.
Do I detect that you've had 1 or 2 refreshments, Stu?
I'm not as bad as I was last time, am I?
What did he say?
I'm not as bad as I was last time.
So, which one of us are you going to propose to this evening?
Any of you female? Yeah, any of you female?
Well, today
no.
I'm identified as a female.
No,
yes.
so I'm not going to propose to any of you, then, am I? And especially one with a Sheffield Wednesday top on. Jesus.
Yeah, exactly, Jesus. With Sheffield Wednesday top on.
Well, there you go.
I thought he played for City, Jesus.
He does, actually, yeah.
They've got 2 Jesuses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you still there, Ada?
Yeah.
Can you see me, by the way?
No,
I can't see. I can't see Ada or you, Stu.
Am I? Oh well, I've got a bit of tape over me Skype thing.
That would explain why we can't see you.
If I take that off, then you'll be able to see me.
Well, if you turn your camera on, yeah.
I best put my clothes on then, haven't I?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh, we're not scared. We've seen Jason. Nothing's scared.
Come on then. Can you see me now?
No. You need to turn your camera on.
if you
Can't
look
even
at
see Ada.
if you look at the bottom of the Skype screen, Stu, there's 3 little blue buttons. The left one should be a camera. If you click the camera, your camera should come on.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I can see you.
Yeah, that's cool, mate. Don't worry about it. Your camera doesn't appear to be connected. You'll probably have to have a bit of a fiddle about with it.
You don't want to see him fiddling about, do you?
No. Definitely don't want to see you fiddling about. We've had enough fiddling about for one day.
No. So, what about? Shall we talk about the royal family then?
Oh God, do we have to?
Yes. Come on, let's talk about the royal family.
Are you a flag waver, Stu?
No.
Go on then.
Well, what do you think? Do you think she's pregnant?
I couldn't give a fuck.
It's another fucking for jumper, same as last time.
But I just hate being lied to. No.
Fuck them though. If you don't listen, if you don't give a fuck about somebody, you don't care whether they fucking lie to you, do you? Because you don't give a fuck. Fuck them.
I don't know. Why are they lying to us then?
Well, because then they keep control, don't they? It's all about keeping control. It's not about fucking making politics is not about making things better for people, right? It's about staying in control. And if you're in control, then you can fucking you've got what you do is you cut education so that there's no critical thinking and there's nothing apart from the fucking do this, do that, conform. You're getting sent home because you fucking trainers at wrong black, and you're getting fucking sent home because you've got fucking a logo on your sock. You know, it's not about education, and people that think they're educated aren't. They're not fucking educated. Education comes from life. It comes from experience, and if you live a fucking good life...
Andy, calming down.
Me?
No, I agree, Jason, but...
I'm joking.
I think with the control, though, they have to give us the impression that we have some control, that we have choice. That's what this system does. You know, you go to the supermarket, you can choose between banana milkshake, chocolate milkshake, strawberry milkshake, vanilla. That's choice. So people think they have choices because they can vote for Jeremy Corbyn, they can vote for Theresa May, whoever the other fuckers are. They can vote for these people and they think they've got choices. But at the end of the day, anybody who's going to step into that building that we think holds all the power with a number 10 on it, anybody who gets in there is going to toe the party line, not their party line, the party line. That's the only way that they keep this control and keep it going.
Have we got another caller?
Right, mate.
So this is what it sets up tonight. Andy, put your mic on. I can't hear a fucking thing.
Oh, Jason's dealer calling him probably. Sort him out.
Jesus Christie.
It's not Lindsay, is it?
You know,
we were hoping to get Lindsay back on as a regular feature. Would that sit well with you and the other listeners? Do you reckon, Stu?
Probably not my girlfriend though.
She's top girl, Lindsay.
I'm joking.
Stu, was your question about politicians or was it about the royal family? I missed that.
Both. To be honest with you.
Oh,
yeah.
I can tell you. I think.
Don't you think they're all corrupt?
No, I think they're all corrupt. Well, firstly, she's not the queen.
No, she's German, and she's Jewish as well.
Well, you know, name Guelph, Saxe Coburg Gotha.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake. I mean, that surname that they reckon they've got, might as well call me fucking Adrian Canterbury.
I mean,
Adrian Scunthorpe.
I'm from Leeds. You know, I've got absolutely nothing to do with someone from Germany.
Well, you know, they use this name Windsor, and they're not Windsor. Windsor's a place. You know, it's like when they was calling him Mountbatten. It's not Mountbatten. It's Battenberg.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
why would you change your name if you've not got something to hide?
Exactly.
They all change.
My personal view of the royal family is, I'm not their subject. I mean, absolutely jack shit to me.
Oh.
Should just get rid of it and let people visit historical buildings.
Just mute when typing, can you, Paul? The keyboard's ever so loud.
Yeah, no.
Why do we stand under them then?
You what? Sorry, say that again, Stu.
Why do we stand under them?
I don't stand under him.
Well, we do, unfortunately.
Because we've got a democracy, and the democracy shows that there are enough flag wavers to keep them where they are. And to be fair, they are employees of the Crown as well, if we're going to look at it in a corporate point of view. So there's no...
You know, people see you drinking tea and walking a corgis and going to church on a Sunday.
And smoking woodbines.
And smoking woodbines. That bitch is the top of the fucking Illuminati tree.
Do you reckon? What?
She absolutely is.
Above the Pope.
It's one of the 13 families that go all the way back to Sumerian times. Yeah.
The Pope, then, do you reckon?
The Pope? He's a puppet.
Yeah.
The Pope's a puppet.
So the Queen's above the Pope?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. The Pope's just a puppet.
Okay, all right.
The Black Pope seems to have more power.
Well, only because he's got all that gold that she wants.
Maybe
they're all part of. They're all a different head of the same fucking beast, anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, all right. Talk about the Pope.
So do you reckon the Queen is the top of the top then?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's the very top of the pyramid.
Really? She is the head.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's down to us then. It's down to us then to sort it out, then, isn't it?
Well, you mentioned the Pope. Let's just look at the Pope. Who lives in the Vatican City? Who lives there?
A load of paedophiles.
Well, yeah, you're right. But think of it this way. You know, what the age of consent in the Vatican City is 14.
Well, it was 12, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, but it's 14. So
I know.
But who lives there? The Pope, all the men under him in the Catholic Church.
A load of men who don't have sex.
Exactly. A load of men who have said they're celibate.
Yes.
And a load of choir boys.
Ed, that's the word I was looking for. Sorry.
You know, a load of choir boys. So why do they need an age of consent?
You don't need one, do you? You shouldn't need one, should you?
Well, they're supposed to not be having sex.
Exactly. You shouldn't be having sex. So if you're celibate...
Does it specify sex with children, though? Because the Vatican has already covered up so much. I mean, there's... I think... Where was it? Was it in... let me think. Where was it in this country? Was it Sussex? Or... It's gone. I can't remember the place, but it was only this week I read the article. Something like there was 8 paedophile priests that have all been in the same diocese. You know, they've just been replaced. It's almost like, oh, well, he's a bit of a troublemaker. Let's put him out here. And it will come to me where it is, but it's down south somewhere. But it can't be a coincidence that this is all coming out and this is happening, and that the Vatican and the Catholic Church do have this whole... Does that mean there's just paedophiles in Catholicism? No, does it, Al? But the paedophiles seem to be rife in every form of government. And when you start to... I always go back to the John Wedger story, because he was doing that much good work that he was knocking on these doors, and he was told to fuck off and shut up. And they tried to do all kinds to this man. He was just an honest, hard-working man who wanted to protect children.
Have you ever seen the film Spotlight? It was like 2-3 years ago.
Oh, I don't know. Don't think so.
Spotlight.
Spotlight. It was on at the cinema, and I went to see it, and I didn't really know a lot about it. I actually went with somebody else who said, "You want to go to the pictures?" Yeah, all right then. And I sat in front of this film, and basically, it was about how there was all these dioceses, and there was all these priests just being moved around like chess pieces.
Yeah.
And they knew that there was paedophilia. And then all of a sudden, this guy said, well, hang on a minute. Rather than look at every diocese, let's look at which of the clergymen have been moved around the most. And the list of it all at the end of the film, it was like the credits.
Yeah.
It was like the credits on fucking Star Wars.
Yeah. Did you ever see
anything like it?
Have you ever heard of a guy called Kevin Annett?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. Well, Kevin Annett was part of putting out the information of. Can't remember who the ex-bishop is who was in Canada. I think he was a bishop or ex-priest or whatever in Canada, and he was. They brought information forward legally, and they took it to an international court where Elizabeth Windsor was found guilty of taking children from a Canadian school in the 60s where they were visiting, and 10 Aboriginal children were taken on a special trip, and people from that school who were still alive. In fact, one of the Aboriginal fellas who was a tribe leader, he's recently become deceased under suspicious circumstances, shall we say.
Come on, Paul, listen to me, mate, right? He's recently become deceased. You're totally wasting letters. There's a letter shortage. You could have just said he snuffed it or he's died or whatever. But you have to go, he's recently deceased. I mean, come on, how many letters is that? You're wasting them. There's a shortage of letters around the world. I'm sorry, I'm not being disrespectful.
Aid'll be on about Whitney Houston next. Steady on.
Whitney Houston?
Listen, guys, it's about time we took a break.
But to finish the story, she's been found guilty in an international court. So she is guilty of that, and there's other people along with it. But nothing is being done. Nobody can get to her because it isn't recognised, even though it was a lawful court with jury, everything. But it's not been recognised. Go on, Ed.
Well, who owns Jersey?
My mate's going to Jersey. I was having this conversation today.
It's not me. It's not me.
No, the Queen owns Jersey. And where did Savile get the kids from to take on to Heath's boat?
Al de l'Orange.
There we go.
Yeah. We were talking about this today, where they found children's bones and it was all been covered up, and shackles in the ground and all this kind of caper. Again, it's another massive cover-up. How many more cover-ups do we have to have before people decide enough is enough? I know there's loads of people campaigning and working towards this stuff. We were talking about some last night, weren't we, Andy? People who were looking to get on the show, it's really heavy stuff where these people have been dealing with. But it is going to take people to turn the televisions off and come together with individually and say, let's do something. But as Ada was saying, the protests, that's what they want. They want you to protest. If you don't protest, they want you to go on the street and create violence. They're the two things that they're level for. So you've got to tackle them from a different tack.
Webby, right, I'll tell you what. Let's have a break, because it's break time. We've been in here an hour, and then I'll give you a response to that, and I'll give you a response to the point that you were just making. No, not about the Queen. No, the point that you were just making. Then I'm going to give you a response to that. But we're at an hour, so it's time. And seeing as I've got the production thing, and I decide we're going to play a couple of records. We'll play probably 1.5 records or something like that. I'm going to play a long one and a short one, shall we say? You're listening to Raconteurs News. It's the 27th of March 2018. 2018. I fucking said 2018, didn't I, instead of 2018? Like a wanker. But that's the wanker I am. We'll be back in a few minutes, so stick around. It's gonna get better. It's got to, really, hasn't it?
Hello, this is Heath Dweft, and I listen to
Raconteurs.
It's grand to find a comfortable chair when you're getting on a bit or you've got arthritis. My niece got this from Shackleton's, you know. Shackleton's original high seat. Never thought it'd be so easy to get in and out of. First she sent for their brochure, then went to the showrooms. They'd over 100 chairs to choose from. Shackleton's high seat chair, it's lovely.
Shackleton's high seat chair, sponsors of Raconteurs News this evening, along with, of course, there's me and my co-presenter Colin, and we're here. And all I can say about the last 20 minutes of radio before the break is that is what you call. That is why live radio is so great. We had an awesome time, but anyway, Super Leeds had to bugger off, and we're just trying to connect another caller in as well. So if you're going to call in, if you've got something to say, we'd love to hear from you. We've got it's Raconteurs News on Tuesday, 27th of March, 2018. And I'm joined by Andy Young, Aid Hardy, and Paul Webster. How you doing, fellas? We are the Raconteurs, and me and Colin as well.
I'm good, Paul. I'm very good.
Yeah, we're all doing good. I've just popped our On Stellar promo video in the chat room there, and I've dropped it in Skype for you guys. So that's the new On Stellar social media platform that Steve Meara was talking about the other week. We've got our promotional code, so we're going to share it around and see if we can get a few people interested. It certainly looks like something different. They're not selling all your information to whoever wants to buy it. And there was some really good stuff in there that Steve was telling us. I'm hoping it takes off. I look forward to posting stuff on there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it works out. Is it still in beta yet?
The website's not live yet. It's going live pretty soon. But if you're not in the chat room and you're not on the Skype call, if you just go to onstellar.com and you can sign up and secure whatever name you want on there while they're still available. And if you use our promo code, presumably you get something out of it, and I think we get a little bit of something out of it as well. I'm not sure how that works, but our promo code is RACON, RACON, all in caps.
Named after Colin.
Yeah. Dyslexic. Colin's dyslexic. That's why it's only got one O in it.
Yeah. So, Jason, before the break, you wanted to do the 5G tree thing, but you also wanted to do something else to finish off the train crash that we had at the in the first hour.
Yeah, there were something. I know what I wanted to look. I'm going to do the tree thing because that's the thing that I can remember. But if you're watching and if you're looking, you can see that there's and I've been watching this, and I'm thinking about getting in touch with somebody from this campaign. It seems like it's another part of the what we're going to say is usually it would have been young hippies living on buses, new age travellers or whatever that were trying to protect these trees. But in this case, it's residents in areas where they've got big trees, and these are nice streets, and they've paid a lot of money for their houses, and they've probably worked all their life to be able to live in those houses, which is why in most cases they're of an older generation. Now, what I've noticed is that we know what the tree thing is. It's all about 5G, and what are young people going to be interested in? Being the first to get 5G, because that's the way that they've been fucking brought up. Look at everything. every single thing that you go on, if you're commenting on anything, if on Facebook, if nobody's commented, it'll always say "be the first," because that's like some sort of trophy. So these days, kids aren't protesting about trees and look like fucking Swampy on Coronation Street. Where remember when he were up a tree for years and it were all over it's for ages anyway, and it were all like it were on Coronation Street. I know it's dog shit Coronation Street, but we're all there, and it were all young people that were involved in that. Now we're getting to the point where the young people aren't fucking bothered about the environment, and they're not bothered about trees and the surroundings. All they're bothered about is getting involved in these stupid fucking groups that want to do things to take their own rights away. Like these fuckers in America with the guns. Look, it don't matter what your fucking stance on guns is. If you take guns, if you ban guns, criminals are still going to have guns. Do you not get that? They're still going to have them. So you're not going to solve the fucking problem, are you? So, but they get all these kids now. All these kids back in the day back in '80s when I were a lad. All these kids that wanted to get involved in issues and that, they got involved in environmental issues, like they'd chain themselves to fucking to trees and they'd be up trees and they'd be that's what they were. But these days, no, it's just these fake. All they care about, all they believe in is this fake shit that's been fed to them, and because of the attention that they're getting, because of that, it's just feeding their need, their narcissistic need. So what happens is you get in Sheffield and in an affluent area of Sheffield, you start chopping fucking trees down. They even chopped down 2 trees that were memorial trees from the fucking First World War or Second World War, one of the wars. There were 2 trees. They were memorial trees. They had plaques on them and everything. They were memorial trees that had been planted from, I think it was First World War. They must have been. And so, but they still chopped the fuckers down. And so people come out. And now, what do? What happens? Right, you've got these older people. These people probably got a bit more money, all right? So they've got more money and they live in a nice affluent area. This should be able to protest. But then what happens is on BBC Radio Sheffield today, I think it was today or yesterday, what they did is they had a phone in, and the people on the phone in were so fucking phony. They were like saying, "Oh, well, this is NIMBYs, and it's, all you've got to do is you've got to make, all you've got to do is you've got to say to people who've got fuck all, right? You've got to say, you see them over there, they've got loads of fucking stuff, and you know what? They're moaning about this fucking trees. We have one of them at Christmas. That's exactly what they're doing. That's what they're saying. And so these people are then ringing in and saying it's all these, it's all pensioners, and it's all fucking old people, and it's all middle class, and it's all this, and it's all that. And there you go. The divide's there. But the people, these kids, don't realise they're being manipulated because they've been educated in such a shitty system that means that they've not been taught to recognise when they're being manipulated. They've not been taught to recognise when they're being lied to. They've not been taught to recognise when they're being fed a fucking line. They just go along with it because all others are doing it. And if you're all together, it's all good. And it's just ridiculous, and that's what's happening in Sheffield. They're fucking dividing people. What they're doing is they're getting all these fucking dickheads ringing in who are saying, "Oh, well, it's only old fucking middle class people who've got fuck all else to do." That's what they're saying. These older middle class people. That's what they're saying. They're dividing people up like that, and this is over trees. And then I'm sorry, this is going to be the last part of my rant. I promise you. On Twitter, no shit, I promise you, on Twitter, the fucking Sheffield City Council said, I've got to find this tweet, because I replied to it. And I thought, this is just fucking ridiculous. It was something about, I'll tell you what, I'll paraphrase, but it was something about Sheffield Council are committed to cleaner air in the city. and they're cutting up fucking trees down. Do you see what I mean? It's just upside down. It's fucking gone, isn't it? But, you see, your average fucking millennial now will not have a clue that trees ingest carbon and release oxygen. They won't have a fucking clue. Or because all they've been fucking told is that, you know, fucking, if something's dissenting, it's bad. Go on, Adi, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say the next thing will be, instead of having carbon tax, we'll have tree tax or fucking oxygen tax.
It's coming. Carbon tax is already here. It's just imposed in different ways, but Al Gore was campaigning for carbon taxes 10 years ago, maybe even longer. But you're going back to that, people campaigning for this gun control in America, Jason. Chicago is probably one of the biggest murder capitals, if not the, in America, and that's got gun control.
Yeah. And I've just remembered what I were going to mention at the end of the last thing, and I was going to talk about. No, it's gone.
Well, just getting back to the gun control, as you know, I mean, I can't remember if it's 11 or 12 states that I've been to. And, you know, what you do, I mean, you can walk around Nevada and see people with what they call open carry. So they'll have a pistol strapped to their hip. But most states, it's concealed carry. And you do find that as you cross a state line, the view on gun control changes. But one thing that does tend to go right through the lot is that the right to bear arms isn't there so that you can protect yourself from your neighbour. It's so that you can protect yourself from the government. That's why it was in the Constitution. That's why it's an amendment.
Well, if you look at all these kids, apparently one of the poster boys is this lad called David Hogg, and he's claiming that this democracy demands gun control. It's a fucking republic. It was set up as a republic, not a democratic state. So that's the reason why. I mean, he's saying there should be a militia from the government that has the guns, and that's it. Well, that's like the foxes in the hen house saying, listen, chickens, you don't need any defences or any cages or anything like that. We'll provide security for the hen houses. That's what's happening. And we know where this goes. Every time gun control's happened, we know where it's gone. I mean, maybe this country's not a great example, because I think with this country, when they took the guns here, I think because this is the financial capital, if you like, I know people talk about Wall Street now but when the gun control was taken, this was the finance capital of city central of London. But now everything's gone from here. We are on Wall Street. We are Americanized. All the American lingo is coming into all the civil laws. That's why they want to stretch it all. Civil law, which is going straight into Europe, that'll be gone. And then they're working on America now. The common law is going from America, from Canada, from Australia, and from here. Once that's gone, that's it. It's game over, because you're going to be playing in a system with pituitary retards that are going to use guns to enforce it. It's pushing you towards the violence, and that's what they've trained for. Look at the militarisation of the police. Look at the police that are involved. The good police who are going to critically think, well, should I do that? Should I follow that order? That's not right. Those police won't last. They're going to use ex-military, and I work with a lot of ex-military lads, and one lad said to me, he says, well, what they say is they break them. How did he put it? It was something like break the man and inject the soldier. How he put it. Break the man and inject the soldier. And I said to him, I said, well, you must be in a situation where, I know there's a lot of lads who can't cope with coming out of the army, especially if they've been frontline action. But I said, do you not find yourself in a situation where you're confronted? Is it possible that you'll just click into that mode and do? He says, yeah, it's easy possible, because that's what we're trained to do. So if you've got a lad who cannot control that, and these are the people. Certainly, if you look at the American police, these are the people they're putting in charge. They're fucking going up to a house and they're shooting the fucking dog that's in the garden because they want to go to the front door.
Yeah.
They've no right to do that. They're just shooting the fucking dog in front of the kids and everything. One dog come round wagging its tail, he fucking put a bullet in it. There's something not right with society, and people just make excuses for it, and it's inexcusable. It's inexcusable for people who've got kids and possibly grandkids, and they don't give a fuck. I give a fuck.
You see, they've got these protesting in America.
Your mic's off, Andy.
Got these people protesting in America for gun control. Now, you know when they had when America declared its independence, basically it was a load of pissed off people who were sick of paying an English king, right, less than, I think it was something like 2 or 3% tax, right? And they basically, you know, all these founding fathers basically wrote him a letter and said, we do not recognize you as our boss anymore. You are not the boss of us, right? We're criminals, but we're taking over and you are no longer the boss of anybody in America. That was what independence was. Now, in America now, you know, the average tax is like more than 50%, just like it is over here. So how pissed off have people got to be before they recognise that they've actually got to turn around to the government and say, hang on a minute, you are not the fucking boss of us anymore.
I don't think they know how to, Ed. I don't think they've got the tools. I don't think they've got the tools to know how. They don't know how to come together. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to challenge. So they go on the street and wave placards and shout. And that's what they just sit there and laugh. Look
and
at these people.
They ask for permission. You know, I'm just going to ask these politicians. Fuck asking them permission. Let's start telling them.
Well, you have to apply for a license to fucking protest. And if they don't like what you're going to protest about, are they going to give you a license?
Well, so Paul, you mentioned the militias a little bit back, and I believe it's written into the American Constitution that the states or the citizens of each state must
have a militia,
a well-regulated militia, and the right to bear arms. It's pretty much spelled out. If you read anything about the guys who wrote the Constitution, that was put in there to defend against a tyrannical government.
Yeah,
now it doesn't seem to be doing terribly effective. I know there's a lot of underground stuff going on with the militias in America, but I've got a good friend who I speak to on a weekly basis at least over in Canada. Now he was part of the Canadian Legion. Now, we're familiar with the British Legion, which is just kind of a bit of a social club for old soldiers and raises a bit of money for charity and all that. But over in Canada, the Legion there is to defend the people against the tyrannical government. Now, our friend over in Canada, he saw what was going on, and it was when he met Rick Simpson. He met Rick Simpson. And he realised that the government were letting people die of cancer unnecessarily when this medicine it's clearly been known about for a long time. But it's been, if you like, pushed to the sidelines by the pharmaceutical companies who are, you know, just filling us full of poisonous shit and making fortunes off it. And he stood up and he said to all the members of the Legion, come on, boys, we need to stand up. They're killing us. And, yeah, some of them stood up. But you've got traitors in there. You've got infiltrators. He said they'd now all been run out of the area because it's a small rural community and people realised who these traitors were who were selling them out. And they've now had to leave the community because it wasn't safe for them to stay there.
Mm.
But what have we got in this country? We haven't got a militia. We haven't got a legion that's a line of defence against the government. We've got jack shit.
You haven't even got a party that's unified, Andy. Never mind anything else. You know what? There's more people talking about the stuff we talk about. There's more people unified over this stuff than anything, but they just don't know how to get it into the system. And like I said before, everybody could challenge something. TV licenses. These are commercial licenses. Do you watch live television in a commercial property? No. Then what are you doing? What are you applying? What are you begging for this license for? Let's start with the simple stuff. Never go out and just say, I'm not paying all my bills. That would be devastating to a family, never mind just do as a one man or one woman. But council tax, there's thousands of people through either no fault of their own or just insist on not paying it. There's thousands of people who are allegedly being taken to council tax courts. If everybody turned up to these hearings, they wouldn't be able to function. It would grind to a halt. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to start attending these places where the fraud is being committed and the theft and the harm. They're inflicting harm and loss onto men and women. This is crime. This is criminal.
Yeah, but
people have got to turn up and put a stop to that.
Paul, but if everybody was to turn up, that means that they, you're not guaranteed everybody turning up, are you? So if you think, right, I'm going to fucking turn up, and you go and turn up, and nobody else turns up, you get your whatever shit done to you because you don't know fuck all.
That's the problem. But
nobody else. Yes, you're right. That's the problem. But they've got us cornered, haven't they? Really, because most people that are in that situation, they've got jobs and they can't afford to take a day off work to go and attend court. So whatever comes through post, they just obey and just fucking pay. You know what I mean? It's like they've got us cornered on every single point.
To be fair, I'd like to see the statistics, but I would reckon that the mass majority of people who are having trouble with council tax payments are probably not the ones who are working full time who can't get the time off. It's just people are scared. People are scared. I mean, a lot of people say you've no need to turn up to these courts. Well, technically that's right, but then you're still going to have people coming knocking at your door. So you're the one with the clean hands. Understand why you shouldn't be paying this and go and just make an argument. Just make an argument, ask questions. But, until people do that, and I understand the fear factor because I don't think I would have sought to do anything what I've done. It's just it came to me and I wasn't going to pull my pants down and say, when you finish bumming me, will you pull my pants up, please? It was something that I couldn't do. And I think a lot of people would probably feel like that. But I do know so many people, as I've said before, I can put 6 foot bloke in front of a 5'2" woman I know, and she's never going to back down from him. But council tax, wow. Corporations, no, can't cope. Go on, Ed.
You see, I mean, I talk to a lot of people about this stuff all the time. And for a lot of people, they can't even get the concept that if I lend Jason my lawnmower and I send Andy around to fetch it, that Jason's going to say, oh, I'm not giving it to you, it's Aid's lawnmower. They get that. But when a debt collector comes round from some company, some corporation, who says that his company's called, I don't know, Marston, but he's collecting a debt that belongs to Sheffield Council, they don't think, oh, right, well, why don't you fuck off because you're not Sheffield Council? People can't even get their head around that absolute basic thing, let alone when they go to court for a council tax, but it's not even a court. It might be a courtroom, but that's not a magistrate. That's not a clerk of the court. They're just council, well, let's call them council officials, but people who work for the council. It's not even a proper court.
No, the councils are printing the liability orders. The council are printing them. It's all documented that. It would be like us saying we were a council and meeting in a room and just rubber stamping a load of orders, and then we give it to bailiffs who go around, and then they get like, say, rebuffed at the door, so they phone the police, and the police turn up and are willing idiots and help these people. We've had tactical aid units fucking red keying properties on behalf of bailiffs for banks. Banks can't lend money. Banks have never possessed this property. They can't repossess something you've never possessed. But again, I agree with everything you're saying, Eddie. I agree with what Jason's saying. But at some point, people have got to grow up and take some responsibility. But at this point, because it's not affecting a lot of people, they think as long as I keep my head down, keep going, they'll leave me alone. Well, I thought that, but they wouldn't leave me alone. And when you do, and I hate using the fucking term "waking up" because it gets used so much. But it's been.
I think that people are in a fucking coma. They've got to be to not realise it.
But I speak to people who understand what I'm saying, but it doesn't get through. They understand the words, but there's no trigger. There's no trigger of that feeling of going, fucking damn right, you're right. They go, yeah, you're right. What time's he send us on? This is what you've got, what you're up against. And I really don't know what the answer is. I really don't know. All you can do is go on.
I've worked out my answer.
Go
on. I'm just going to fuck off to Thailand.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. Because and I'm not saying that what they've got there is perfect, because it isn't, but, at least the corruption's open and above board in Thailand.
Well, the thing is, the corruption here, it's dressed up in fucking wigs and suits and ties, and these are the real criminals. These are the real fucking criminals of this country. Solicitors who absolutely don't, some solicitors are that thick, they don't fucking know what system they're participating in. They think that they're doing so. I'd love solicitors to ring in this show and tell me what they think they're doing, because they are ensnaring people. They are stitching people into the system that is going to steal from them. If you take a solicitor, all of a sudden, it's two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner, because you've already lost. The judiciary and the executive are working hand in hand. The Crown own both, and the Crown cannot lose in their own courts. At the end of the day, this is a service that's being offered. How many services do you know that is compulsory? B&Q offer a service. They offer a service of selling me DIY stuff. Does that mean they can send me a letter and summons me to B&Q?
For fuck's sake, is someone going to take his fucking batteries out?
Sorry, you're sat there with your fucking knees up and not saying fuck all.
I'm not saying fuck all.
Tell you what, Jason, go on, mate. Go on.
I've got a B&Q ditty. I've got a B&Q ditty.
Go on then.
I took something back to B&Q and I'd bought it with cash. I just use cash. And it said, you can bring it back within, I think it was 21 days if it wasn't suitable. And I can't even remember what it was, and it was for about 20 quid. And there was a sign up behind the till, and it said, "We reserve the right to ask you your name and address when you're having a refund." So she said, "What's your postcode?" I said, "That's my business." So she pointed to this sign, and I just said, "How can you retain a right that you never had in the first place?" And she just looked at me, got on the phone, a manager came down, and he pointed to the sign, and I said, "How can you retain a right you never had in the first place? Here's your whatever it was, giving me 20 quid back." And in the end, they just gave me the 20 quid.
But if you hadn't been forthright, if you hadn't been like you are, you would have just given your name and address. Like, what, from you, maybe 1,000 people that day would have given that.
You see, but not AD, because he'd been to Thailand. So what he did, you see, he's not actually told you the whole story. He'd just come back from Thailand, and he says, "Listen," he went over to one of the assistants that was stood about, a young lady, and he said, "I want to pay cash. Whose knickers do I put this in?"
Now, come on, he said Thailand's not like that. That's a myth.
Oh, it's funny you should say that, Aid, because I had exactly the same thing a couple of years ago. I don't remember where it was, but I remember distinctly I was going for a refund of something that broke or was shit or mouldy or whatever. Went and I said, "There's my receipt. Can I have my money back? It's shit." And she went, "Oh, I need your postcode." Why? I don't want any letters from you. She went, "Oh no, we need your postcode so we can do the refund." I said, "Well, you didn't need the postcode to take the fucking money in the first place, did you?"
Exactly right, exactly.
And she went, "Oh, no, it's company policy." I said, "Well, you can have whatever policies you like, but you ain't getting me postcode."
Just fucking give me a white postcode.
I said, "Call the manager, please." Manager came down, had a bit of a conflab, and in the end, he just gave me money and said, "Look, just don't fucking come back here." I went, "Yeah, all right."
I used to go to Argos with me empty soda stream bottle, right? And say, yeah. And they just go, "All right, well, we need to refund the empty and blah, blah. Right, we need your postcode." And mate, I just want a fucking full one of them. Here's your empty one. Give me my full one. Here's your tenner. "Oh, well, we need to." I went, "No, I'm not giving you anything. Here's your empty fucking bottle. Give me a full bottle. Here's your tenner."
Sounds simple enough, doesn't it?
Yeah, but people are programmed into just parting with information about themselves, private information.
Yeah.
And then you get the, "Oh, well, if you ain't got anything to hide, what's your problem?" Well, have you got any fucking curtains up in your house? Do you walk around with your... If your name's not Jason, you can hang around with your bollocks hanging out your shorts. But if it isn't Jason, then,
Well, we've got an interesting comment in here in the chat room, and Dinny's saying, "Don't come to Germany, you're taxed to fuck." But
yeah.
That's only sour grapes from Dinny because he's got his tax bill this week. So, look, Dinny, I did offer in the chat room. I says, "Well, just pay it to me instead. It'll make you feel a lot better." But he didn't see the funny side. So, tough shit, Dinny.
Does he volunteer like we all do?
I can remember going to Germany, and basically, if there's not a sign up saying you can do something, then you can't do it. It's completely the other way around.
And it's all civil law as well.
Yes.
Alrighty then. Oh, right. Anyway, listen, you're listening to Raconteurs News. If you're watching on Facebook Live, I can't see you because it's telling me that nobody's watching. So I think perhaps the end of the last hour sort of disintegrated our audience just a tad. But we're just having a bit of a chit chat. We've got about 15 minutes left before we have to say goodbye or au revoir, depending on whether you're from France or England. I'm just talking shit, aren't I? I learned this. I learned this, when I was DJing. When I was a DJ, you just talk shit, and it's just fucking brilliant. But
It was a good idea in the chat room from John. He said, "If I go anywhere and they ask my postcode, I'll just give them the one for the council." He said it works every time. So if you don't want to give me a postcode, just learn the one for the local council. And
that's a pretty good idea. I do that. When I buy something and they ask for my postcode, I give me old postcode where I used to with the house that I used to live in with my ex. So. I always do that, so it don't. It's ridiculous, isn't it? The amount of information that people will give up, but it sort of crept up on us, didn't it? Because we didn't realise that. You see, I did. I don't have like apps on my phone and all that sort of shit and all that sort of crap, but people are offered something for free. And they think it's for free, but it actually isn't. It's you're giving up everything about yourself. You're giving up your whole soul, really, aren't you, Ada?
Yeah. Holland and Barrett, and apparently that's now been bought by some big farmer or whatever. But I can remember going in there and they say, "Oh, have you got a points card?" No, they say, "Can I have your points card?" No. "Oh, have you not got one?" No. "Oh, would you like one? It's free."
No.
Oh, that's me. I'm 5 minutes later. I'm fucking still talking. No, nothing's free. Nothing's free. Everything has a cost, and the cost is that you want my information so that you can send me shit that I don't fucking want.
Your gas is free.
Yeah. Well, it's not. It's just already been paid for. But yeah. Yeah. Andy, have you just been on Google and fucking Googled 1060
No,
West
mate,
Addis?
no, I don't need to Google that. It's one of the favourite lines from one of my favourite lines from Blues Brothers.
Yeah, I've been to 1060 West Addis and stood outside it. It's a shithole.
Well, listen. What I'm going to go into what I had said at the end of the first hour that I wanted to go into from what you'd said. You'd said about people, coming together and coming together and standing up, but yet we then protests, don't we? Where that's people coming together. What I think that people should take individual responsibility. And if people do take individual responsibility, then we won't need to protest. We won't need to go and stand outside Parliament. There is going to come a point, and it will happen, because all these coppers that are protecting these fuckers, that are protecting all these people that are fucking us up arse, like taking the school dinners off us, while giving themselves a fucking a 9 or 10% fucking pay rise, that cuts in on April 1st. There's going to come a point where that copper, his mother, who's disabled, just had a fucking a benefits cut, and he's going to think, well, hang on a minute. He's going to start talking to other coppers who've got people who in their family, because coppers they're not all coppers, or everyone who's a copper, not all the families are coppers. And, they'll have people in the family who are disabled or elderly, and they're getting fucked, and they're getting more and more fucked. And they're going to start thinking, hang on a minute, and whispers are going to start going amongst ranks and things. And that's what we're aiming for, isn't it? Because we don't want a violent end to this. What we want to do is say, right, you lot, get on these planes, these chartered planes, and fuck off. I don't care where you go, just fuck off. And then we're going to start over again, and we'll do it where it is the fucking will of the people, or it's a fucking lottery. It might as well be a lottery, really, as the will of the people. It might as well be a lottery. Like I've always said, the old system of democracy where it's like jury duty. You're called to do it, and you have to do it. And then once you've had a few generations of thick people being put into fucking situations, into jobs where they've got a responsibility, and you really want them to be on the ball. That's when you decide you're going to change education system, so that, because you've got a lottery, right? So it could be anybody. Anybody could be called to become a part of the government. So what you're going to do is you're going to make the education system so good that anybody that gets called is going to be able to do the right thing. Be able to be beneficial. Go on, Ada.
We've often quoted, I can't even remember who it is, and it's, for bad things to happen, all it takes is for good people to do nothing. Well, what I'd like to see is people do less than nothing. So don't register, don't vote, don't recognise the bastards, don't think the Queen is, because she fucking isn't, don't believe that you've got to pay all these bills that you really don't have to pay.
You can't pay them.
No, you can't, but do it one step at a time. So what I'm saying is, what I want people to do is less than what they're doing now, but at least know why you're doing nothing.
Yeah. What you were talking... Oh, go on, sorry, Eddie, go on.
And, if we all recognise that the big answer to all this problem is just fucking ignore the cunts out of existence. What they're going to do when no fucker turns up? Who are they going to preach to then? It'll just be a man on top of an hill fucking ranting to himself and getting sectioned for it. Oh, sorry, were you the Prime Minister once? Fuck off, you dickhead.
It's like what Jason was talking about then. If you go back in history, how it was really set up, where the locals in your local village, town, whatever, people would vote for somebody who was campaigning on whatever. If those people were coming together in a community and then they then elected one man or woman who would take that to a parliament where everybody could get into and be elected, then go back, not live down where they are. That is something where it's touching towards what Jason's talking about, but it's not everybody voting for something. It's about the individual growing up and taking responsibility for themselves. Once you do that, then you can start doing things. It's got to start with one man. You can't change anything if you don't change yourself.
Well, when you talk about that, you talk about people and laws being introduced. The more local the community, the more rich the appetite is for whatever is becoming law. Right? That's a fact. It's an absolute fact, because people. So what we instead of what we've got, which is a fucking everything's going. It's UK wide. So we've got England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and we've got Europe, and we're stuck in that shit. You know, if we can just stop in England and just deal with our own shit, right? We get rid of all the Scottish MPs from Parliament. And they go up and they go to the Scottish Parliament, and they can do what they want up there. And then the Welsh Parliament, you know, perhaps you might even get a fucking Cornish Parliament, you know. But all these laws, the smaller the demographic, if you've got, like the referendum, right?
Less laws.
65 million people, or perhaps I think there were about 40 million people that were eligible to vote. So you've got 40 million people, right? You've got two fucking outcomes. That's 40 million people deciding on one or another, right? In or out.
Yeah.
You see, my view is don't register, don't recognise it, and you know, if everybody just don't recognise it, then it doesn't exist. Government, it's just a figment of your imagination.
Of course it is. I mean, I go back. My local town gave up sovereignty in 1974, and we gave up our own council to go and twin with another council, which was Wigan. And Wigan Council asset stripped Lee and fluffed their own nest up. We were a rich town. We were self-sufficient. It was a very rich town a long time ago. I'm on an old photograph site on Facebook of it, and the town, despite it being a hard-working town, it was a pit town. It was a mill town with spinners. We even made rope.
It was a railway town, weren't it, as well? Railway town.
Spinners,
exactly. Well, do you know what? I think we're the biggest town in Europe without a railway station. I think that's a strange thing to say. That one of the biggest towns in Europe without a railway station. Andy Bastard gave us a fucking misguided bus route. They're talking about a train station now, which is what everybody wanted in the first place. It's just when you give up all these rights and you become centralised, all our council tax that is stolen. Well, it can't be stolen if you're consenting, but all the council tax that's collected goes down to London, and you've got to beg for that to come back to your community. This is where it's got to stop. You've got to look at locals, but we've got to look at manufacturing again. Stop thinking we've got to try and manufacture something to sell. Why don't we manufacture something to make people's lives easier here?
Paul, we've got one major obstacle stopping us from changing any of this. And for me, I watched a brilliant interview last night. I've got to recommend this guy because I really do enjoy his interviews. He's a Norwegian guy called Al. He's Forum Borealis. And they've got a website, forumborealis.net, but I listen to him on YouTube. And he was talking to a guy, Joseph P. Farrell. He's some Oxford scholar. And he's quite a deep researcher. He goes into all kinds of topics, but he was talking about Common Core education in America.
Ooh.
And it was a 2.5, 3 hour interview. But man, I mean, this Al, this Norwegian guy, his English is way better than all four of us put together.
Does he say cunt very often?
No, I've never heard him say that, actually. He's always very measured. He's Mr. Smooth. He's got one of those really silky smooth voices that I envy. I thought he was quite an elderly guy by his voice, but he's quite a young dude when you see him on some of the videos. And the hijacking of the education system by corporate interests, as he outlined it in that interview, I mean, he did a perfect job of it. Since essentially the 1850s, the corporations have controlled the education system. They've used the Prussian doctrine of education, and they basically just turned it into a sausage factory for idiots to work machines, and they don't want any more than that. And the only way you can get out of that is to get away from that education system. And the trouble is, people are so tightly funneled into it. It's a hell of a wrench to get away from it. But you've got to realise how much your kids are being fucked up by the education system before you can even think about taking them out of it and doing it a different way. So something's got to change, because with that level of dumbing down that's going on,
we're fucked out.
Christ, you look at Common Core maths and stuff like that. I mean,
it's fucking ridiculous.
A point that Farrell raised on that interview, he said that if you look back to the early 1900s, I think it was, in America, and look at the reading material that was given to 8th graders, he said that's the stuff now that is given to people in universities studying for degrees.
Yeah, that's correct.
Those kids had an incredible vocabulary and they learned critical thinking. If they taught critical thinking in school now, there'd be a fucking revolution next week.
Well, it's a good job I'm not a fucking teacher. Jesus Christ.
John D. Rockefeller, because the Rockefeller Foundation's funded a lot of the education system over there, and John D. Rockefeller said he wanted a nation of workers, not thinkers. That's why the education system got changed. But you talk about what was it then? What core was it for the education system?
Common
Core. Well, for the prison system, it was Correction Corps, and they privatised all the prisons, but they signed 95% occupancy rate contracts with the government. So their jails are guaranteed to be 95% full at all times. Otherwise, they don't pay for the fucking jails. The taxpayers pay it. And the prisons for profits that are coming here, it's exactly the same. The private jails if they don't turn profits, they don't put their own money in it.
Oh, Paul, I've got to interrupt there. Dinny's asking, what the fuck do you want a train station for? It's like folks saying we need a Tesco's.
Nice one, Dinny.
Don't know what the fuck to say to that.
Well, obviously,
you don't end up going to Manchester.
Obviously,
Dinny's going to Manchester.
Obviously, Dinny puts train stations in the same category of usefulness as Tesco's, so...
Bonjour.
So where are we at?
We were fucked.
We're at 9 o'clock, mate.
We're at 9 o'clock. Oh my God, we seem to be going over a little bit. Else anybody wants to say? Oh, do you know what I want to say? I don't. How many of you got tellies and watch it?
No.
Well, I've got one, but I don't watch proper telly. I just watch anything I want to watch off the internet.
Stop making excuses. Just say if you watch telly. Nobody's going to judge you, right? Just say. Don't try and go, I've got a telly, but, I don't watch it. I just use it for my computer.
I think what you're saying, Jason, is you watch TV.
Yeah, I do watch TV, yeah. Fucking hell, I live in a house with a normal woman who does normal things, right? All right.
You've got a TV license.
She understands my things and I understand her things, so sometimes I'm watching TV, right?
Have you got a TV license, Jason?
Oh, fuck. Fucking hell. I don't...
detective van's in your road right now,
I always say this. I don't have a TV license. I don't have a TV license. I don't have a TV license for the same reason I don't pay a paedophile to stand in the corner of my living room telling me lies.
I don't think a paedophile would tell you lies, mate.
Well, he would, because if he fancied me, he'd be lying about being a paedophile.
That's one joke.
I don't know, maybe he's turned on by mental age.
He might be.
Anyway, the point you were making about telly, Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've got these adverts, these new there's some adverts that have come out, and what disturbs me is they've got these like freakish fucking kids that are in adverts. Like there's the AA advert where there's that little kid in back at fucking car, and she's doing that rolling, whatever fucking thing, and it's an AA advert, and she's singing fucking song. It's obviously a song she don't know because she can't know it because it's like fucking right old. So
is this kid an alcoholic then? If it's for the AA.
Oh, you've thrown him off track now.
Oh, sorry, man.
I think there were probably only Paul in the entire universe that laughed at that.
Paul doesn't live in the universe.
I was laughing at the fact he threw you off the fucking rails.
I just said that because when you said it, I was thinking, when you said AA, I thought Alcoholics Anonymous, and I was trying to work. I thought that doesn't make any fucking sense. Why are they doing adverts on telly?
I've not seen it, mate. The only time I see television, I see it at work.
Jason.
Go on, carry on, Jason.
You've got freaky kids in these adverts. Not just the normal goofy, fucking perfect-looking kids.
Right? Okay. Don't you remember? It first started off with them Cadbury's kids whose fucking eyebrows went fucking AWOL and did fucking all sorts of daft shit. Remember that? Do you remember that? It was fucking years ago.
Here's the thing. I've got a filter in my brain where it just switches off. When I used to watch telly, I just switched off and I used to look out the window or whatever. And then when whatever I was interested in came back on, I'd watch that. But I never watched adverts for years.
Is it similar to wasn't there an advert not long since where there's two women that sing throughout it and they've received death threats or something like that because of these adverts are so annoying? There was something in the news about it about a week or so ago. Can't remember the advert because, like I said, the only time that I get a chance to see any advertisements would be at work on dinner hour or something like that, because in the staff room you've got a TV on that people watch. Yeah, I can tell you what's happening on Loose Women and shit like that.
Isn't it funny?
Listen, dudes, what you've got to do is you've got to fucking take some of the shit in, right? So that you can look at it and you can just then analyse it and see what shit it is and why it's shit. You can't just cut yourself off from it. You can't, Because what you've got to do is, and this is the point I was going to make with Paul before. You can't. You've got to analyse it, and then you've got to try to. You've got to try to express that in a way, in some way, whether it's in something funny or something. Whatever, I don't know, something cute or whatever. But as long as it makes that little point. But you see, when you start saying things like people have got to come together, that's like confrontational. It don't need to be confrontational because this can only ever be organic. It can only ever be organic, and it can only ever be the fucking people that understand what it is until that's and then that will spread out. It will fucking
that critical mass
spread out. It will spread out that people fucking know this, and it'll go. But you know what we don't need to do is to try and force people and put people together and say, into these fucking, because they get into these groups. And then the fucking them groups are infiltrated, and then the fucking took over, and then these fucking people, and then the fucking discredited, and it's gone. It just needs to be just everybody, just no groups, no fucking this, no that or other. Everybody just like fucking coming together in one place and just going, look, we've fucking had enough of this. Fuck off. We voted out.
Just say no.
And do you know what? No. You know what? We voted out, right? And people should. And this is not just a Brexit issue. This is an issue for everything. We voted out, right? Even people that voted to remain should get behind the people that voted to get out to enforce what they call democracy. And if they don't fucking do that, if they don't enforce the democracy that they claim to fucking hold fucking as some beacon of fucking a civilization, then they should fuck off. Just
if it's going to people see government as some kind of fucking deity, and it's just a religion. But they'll only do that whilever it suits them. And you're dead right, Jason. People should do what you've just suggested. But they won't.
No.
Because what they'll do is they'll just continue to fight for what they want. Well, why don't you just do what you fucking want anyway?
No.
Fuck the politicians.
No. They'll continue to be manipulated into thinking, into fighting for what they think they want. Because the people that they look up to have said this, and so that they can't think for themselves. Anyway, I think we're done, aren't we? I'm knackered.
I've just got one thing to say.
Go on.
While people still believe they've got a choice and can have an influence, they will remain within the cocoon of government and all the rest of the shit that goes with it. Once people realise that actually they don't have a choice and what they say within that system makes no fucking difference whatsoever, then we've got a chance.
And can I just say this, ignoring the referendum, it's not the first time they've done it. They did it in Ireland, and he's just mentioned that in the chat room.
Just keep asking the question until you get the answer you want.
They did it with us. They did it with us in 70 with Ted Heath. We didn't vote to go in it. They put us in it as well. So it's happened. There's nothing new under the sun.
I think that was one of the weeks where he went on his boat shagging kids just off the coast of Jersey, wasn't it?
That's not even allegedly.
No, it's not. He fucking did it, the dirty bastard.
Again, where do we draw the line? As long as people think that all they've got to do is put a cross in a box and they think they've done their duty, then it's got to get tighter on people. People have got to experience hardship before they'll do anything. I can hold my hands up and say that's what happened to me. They came for my shit. I said no. They phoned down police. That's where it started, and I saw what unfolded before me. at the end of the day, if people don't see that, they can always say that's a load of shit. Well,
Yeah, but
I lived it.
Paul, we can all see with the ramping up of police state, how long, I mean, how long can people kid themselves that I'm all right?
People are good at that, aren't they?
You know, it's the police state. It's the fact that they're destroying the middle classes. There are no working classes anymore, really, because there's no proper jobs. You work in a call centre, you work in a shop, or you're on the fucking dole because we don't make anything anymore.
Well, the middle class used to be there to protect the rich from the fucking poor people, didn't they? And now there's less middle class and there's more poor people. So,
Interesting equation, that.
Go on then, you, Mr. Holmes.
What did you just do? Have you just had some like anti-helium that's made your voice more gruffer and like, you know, and more rough?
What, me?
Yeah, you. Yeah.
You've just gone all like a Dalek aid.
Am I all right again now?
No.
You're a bit loud, actually. Have you finished masturbating that dog?
I'm not masturbating. I was showing you Rodney's paws. Rodney's.
Yes, that's a that's a euphemism, isn't it? I was showing
Rodney's
you.
Rodney's going to tell you to fuck off.
We are showing me his fifth paw. This is his fifth paw, and we nicknamed it Lipstick.
This has hit new fucking lows this tonight. Fucking new lows.
I don't know. We start off with Jason's boil on his arse and him getting rammed up the rear end, and we end up with Rodney's lipstick. What the fuck's that all about?
Oh, well, we don't know. Listen,
democracy in between.
Yeah.
It's been we've gone over a bit, haven't we? It's been absolutely super. Do we want to carry on or do we want to stop? I know you've probably got a prior engagement with Rodney's. Well, you know, he needs to go out for a wee, doesn't he?
I only took him out for a wee earlier.
Oh, you want earlier? He might want one now. He's had a drink, can he? You get him a Jack Daniels.
He don't drink Jack Daniels.
Oh, bloody hell.
He drinks that cheap shit from Aldi.
Well, I think, that's us for this evening. Thank you very much for listening. A big thank you to Super Leeds for calling in and ruining first hour. I'm sure. Listen, I'm sure he'll. If he listens back, I'm sure he'll understand, and I probably ruined second hour. But big thank you to Aid Hardy and little Rodney there. Big thank you to Andy Young and Paul Webster. Guys, I'm going to give you 10 seconds each for your last words, and then we're going to bugger off. Andy.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I've had an enjoyable night. Been some great contributions from the chat room. See you soon.
Okay, Ada.
Stop fucking voting, for fuck's sake.
Okay, unless it's on X Factor or something like that, and keep on voting because you're a fucking idiot and you don't deserve that money anyway. So, what about you, Webby?
Interesting night again, lads. Good debate. At the end of the day, grow the fuck up, stop being a pussy and do something. Stop moaning, do something about it.
Well, I've got to say, it's been absolutely fantastic. I don't know what we're going to be doing next Monday. I don't know whether we're going to be doing a show next Monday night with it being bank holiday, but we'll be back next Tuesday anyway. If any of the guys want to do, we'll discuss it between ourselves in a production meeting that we'll have probably in a couple of days' time once we've both sobered up. Well, sorry, when we've all sobered up.
Whoa, wait. A production meeting? Does it fucking sound like we have meetings?
Hang on, Eddie. What we'll do is we'll do a post-show wrap-up. That's what we'll do. We'll debate it in a post-show wrap-up.
Well, that's what we'll do. Anyway, listen, some will be happening on Raconteurs News. You know, that's what we're all about. And please go to our Facebook page, Raconteurs News. You do a search on Facebook, you'll be able to find it. Like our page. And go to also go to raconteursnews.com and look at some of the backstories, the interviews that we've done over the last couple of years, because we've been going for over 2 years now, and I think that from the adversary that we've had to overcome, I think that we're doing very well. And I think we're going to be around for a lot longer as well. So thanks, guys. Thanks to the Raconteurs who have joined me tonight, AD, Andy and Paul. And thank you to you for listening. And we'll see you we'll definitely see you next Tuesday. But I've got a couple of guests that I'm getting lined up. I'm trying to line up Mike Robinson from UK Column to talk about the NHS Whistleblower Conference that's going to be on sometime. So I'm been in touch with him, and also we've been in touch with the UFO Researcher of the Year in the United States. Well, in fact, she's been in touch with us. So she approached us and asked us if we'd be interested to have her on as a guest. So that's how things are evolving. We used to be scratching for guests. We don't need them now. We do need them, but
for tonight,
we're all we're getting more and more people that want to be involved with Raconteurs News. So we'll see you next week, whether it's Monday or Tuesday. It'll definitely be Tuesday if it's not Monday. May see if we can put something together for Monday night. But enjoy the rest of your week and your bank holiday weekend. And happy Easter to you. We'll see you again soon. Oh.